Right, welcome back to the channel. We're on the oak porch job again this morning. Little recap, we are working on the eaves beams, which is this part of the porch. And in the last video, we cut this splice joint here to extend this. So this needs to be nearly 13 meters long. And this morning, just going to add the wedges in and test that joint so that it holds it all together with the wedges. Never actually done one of these before, so I'm a little bit unsure how deep to make this this wedge room. I don't want to go deeper than that there, so we've got 55. So we can actually go quite deep. I think I might go 30mm deep each way, so it leaves a 60mm wedge. That's plenty of end grain then for it to wedge against. The idea of it is to create a square socket here with a wedge that forces this beam that way into this socket and this beam that way into this socket here. The important part here is this cut and this cut need to be the strong ones because they're where the wedges are going to be acting on, and then this cut here can be sort of like have a slight gap so that it allows the timbers to move with the wedges. You don't want the wedge that you're wedging against this one to wedge against the beam itself. You want it to wedge against the opposing piece, so here and here. I've just got to get this joint apart, which is easier said than done. So let's get these lines squared over and cut a nice little housing out for the wedges. That's a 30. Now, wasp nest was getting quite bad, so someone commented about washing up liquid. So I just sprayed some neat, like half a bottle of neat washing up liquid in there. I don't know if they're dying, but it's certainly brought them out the nest. It's washed them up a bit. I think they are dying, to be fair. My God. Yeah, they're all dead, aren't they? Crazy. So we're not quite right there because we've got a little bit of a gap to take up, and this beam has got to go that way, and it's flush already with this one. So the folding wedge will just like expand out and exert the pressure on this bit, which is not what I want. I want it on this bit. So just got to mark that and trim that back. Just be about there. Got me folding wedges. These want cutting out of one piece of wood, so got an A and a B here. Pick the wrong ones up. So if you cut these out of a single batten, so these were one piece of wood split down the middle, you know, you're guaranteed to get a parallel surface between the two outside edges, which is really important. And then you want to make sure that as they slide together, they're wide enough to, you know, fill that hole with 200mm or the beam thickness of material left within the wedge. And I'm going to set a block below because I can't get to the other side to tap it in. I mean, it might be a slightly bit thick actually. I've done these out of kiln dried, so they probably will swell up a little bit. It looks like I need another half a mil off there maybe, we'll see. sticking these together. Let's just try it for now. I'll just cut these on the bandsaw because I think it's safer. Hopefully you can see that moving. Let's see if I can flip this on its side. Just check this sort of left to right alignment. Come on, you can do it. Looks better. Oh, it's all suddenly come good. I think when I got this joint in place and everything is nice and straight, I'll probably put like 2 dowels either side of them pegs just to stop them beams being able to sort of slide on that joint. And, yeah, to keep it nice and straight, but I'm pretty pleased with that. It looks really good. The worst gap is on this back edge. It's tight there. There's a sort of ½ mm gap this side, which is nothing. Pretty pleased. Just sort of tight there. Let's have a couple of seconds of joint appreciation now. That is ½ mm. That is pretty much perfection. That's perfect. There's this hairline gap there. It's tight on that one. Same this side. And on the back, it's pretty good as well. I don't want them to be too tight in the width because if they do end up swelling up, being kiln dried and this being green, I don't want it to open this joint up along that splice with the force of the timber swelling up. So I might just shave another ½ mm off them so there's a decent gap. And if we have a look down it, aside from this beam being a bit bent, it's a pretty good joint, I'd say. Right, so I'm pretty happy with that one. I can move that one out the way now and slide that one along and then do the joint on that end and add in another beam over there. And I should have a monster beam. Let's see if this will clip together. Clip apart, sorry. Pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Just had quite a good idea to save having to put this joint back together to get the measurements when I set the mortises out. I'm going to put a square line across on this beam, on the top edge where it's not seen, and then mark down onto the next beam across the joint, say 1 metre exactly. And that will give me, I know that from that point there on that beam to that line there is 1 metre, so when I'm setting out them tenons, I can just measure to that line, add the metre on, and then work from that line on this beam without having to reassemble it all, which is quite a lot of hard work to get these measurements. So I'm glad I thought of that before I took it to bid. do anything with a petrol chainsaw or strimmer, then I'd definitely recommend one of these. It's combi canister from Stihl. It's got like, make sure you get the push feed spouts. But yeah, spanner storage on there for opening up your things if it's still on that system. Even though the new saws don't have that. But yeah, fuel, never spill a drop. Just push it in the tank, hold it till it stops, and lift it up. Don't spill a drop. Same with the chain oil. Look. Done. Unbelievable work kit. I'll put a link to it down below if I can find one for sale online. But make sure you get them spouts, they're the time saver. I know I mentioned it in the other video, but this router bit is like no other. I'll put a link down below to the trend router bit I used in this video. It's got two carbide insert cutters, and it just seems to cut way better than a carbide cutter that's been ground and moulded to the bit. I don't know why, but the shavings just come off absolutely buttery smooth. And yeah, it's the best router bit I think I've ever used. It's just a beast. Because this is the seam face, so like this is the underside that we're going to see the joint line on. I've just stopped the router from coming out the end, knifed down on my square line. I'll just take that out with my little chisel. Just hollow that out a little bit. Down there. Give my joint the best chance. That's beautiful. Horrible bit to cut this because it's going into the ground. Horrible. Don't know if I recorded this on the other video I did on this splicing joint, but that bit in the middle I'm left with, I chiselled out last time. It was bloody hard work, but I've discovered that if you just set the planer to 0 and keep the beds not beyond the edge of the timber, or just slightly like a 0.1mm depth of cut, it just mills that away. It blocks the planer up straight away because it's crap, but it just mills that surface away until it's just below the shoulder lines, which is perfect. You can even do it on the ends. Set it on 0.1. Then instead of struggling to do all that with the chisel, you can just enjoy this little bit where there's usually a knot. But because you've only got a tiny little bit to do. It's quite enjoyable. Oh, that's the way to do that. Tell you what, it's been miserable and cold all season when we've been trying to make money baling. And we finish that job, get into some heavy work on the oak, and it bloody comes 26 degrees. We go on to the last splice joint, so I'll find out which way round I'm going to orientate this beam, get the nicest faces to the front and the underside, get that splice cut, and we can move on to finishing that end frame that we never got around to finishing, because that will then leave us with a spare beam that we can cut the final piece of the end frame from. You can tell when you've had a busy day because your workshop looks like that. I've got that one sitting nice and straight as I look down it, and the end joints are perfect. I've just got a little bit of a taper off on that joint there. Yeah, right, I can see the problem. The beam, if you eye these down, past like the joint about here, that beam is pretty flat. It's just the end whoops up a bit. I think that's the technical term. It's got a whoopy end. So I think what I'll do there is I'm going to make a note of it on top, but when I'm on site fitting it, I'll get the joint nice and tight, lock it all together, whack a load of screws through so it holds it tight, and then just drop it down onto the posts, and it will settle itself out in time. Hopefully that joint will be strong enough with the screws in it to lock that and pull it all down nice and tight and in place. So that's all I've got time for today. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll be carrying on in the next one.